Hi and welcome to my review of The Goodies, the complete BBC collection. Today we're up to Dodonuts. Bill the birdwatching conservationist is horrified to discover that Graeme and Tim are gun-crazy hunting enthusiasts involved in the Endangered Species Club, where everything endangered is on the menu. Bill starts his own society to protect endangered species, but when he gets his hands on a dodo, things get very complicated. Can Bill protect a bird so obnoxious it's unbearable? And can he protect it from Graeme and Tim? There are lots of highlights in this fun episode. The first being we get to see Bill in his birdwatching mode. It seems like a bit of Bill's real-life passion for birdwatching and conservation comes through in this episode as he goes up against the forces of wealthy hunting enthusiasts. I loved Bill's self-defense equipped animals. Now, I noticed Bill has a new outfit in this episode. Gone is the baseball jacket of the previous episodes to be replaced by a rather somber blue jacket. Now, I was not sure if this is supposed to be a reflection of his character in this episode. He's a bit of a sort of, dour conservationist about serious issues, etc. Or not. It does seem pretty plain compared to the outfits we've seen in previous seasons. I really loved Graeme's dodo puppetry in this episode. Now, one thing that really made me laugh and took me quite by surprise in this episode was the tandem bed that it appears the boys all sleep in together. We have never seen this before, but I love the idea that the boys all sleep in the same bed, and it did remind me of films like, Laurel and Hardy films where Laurel and Hardy would share the same bed in a purely platonic sense, I guess. I loved Tim's Union Jack pyjamas, but even better than those pyjamas, Bill's Wild Thing pyjamas. They are sensational. I also really enjoyed Tim's Jubilee sneakers, a lovely little detail. But one of the best highlights in this episode for me was the dodo terrorizing the boys in their office. It's a really beautifully done scene. Now, another thing that surprised me in this episode that I also didn't remember was the shot of the dodo pooping on the road. Was this shot cut from the Australian screenings, or am I just not remembering it? The dodo puppet really is the guest star of this episode, and the puppet is hilarious. I also love Tim as a sexy dodo. We do see the return of the synthesizer music in this episode, and I have to say, for me, it's just not as enjoyable as Bill's previous music. Another highlight of this episode was the dodo fighter pilot sequence. It's just so fantastically well executed. One thing I did find a bit unsettling in this episode was the sight of Tim and Graeme riding the tandem while firing an anti-aircraft gun. That's another detail I just didn't remember from this one. Something else I found quite surprising while watching this was that the ending has some real drama to it. This episode's guest star is Percy Edwards, who I understand did the voice of the dodo. Now, this episode starts in quite an odd way. Tim and Graeme are in a country estate as part of the wealthy hunting pack, and it almost seems like a different series. They almost seem like different characters here. It really doesn't feel like a typical Goodies episode at all, and it's not until we see Bill in the office that it returns to that familiar Goodies feel. I almost wondered at the start of this one, do the characters even know each other here? This is another episode that raises some interesting and confronting issues around conservationism, endangered species, and even the ethics of eating meat. They even ask the question, should we only eat what we are prepared to kill ourselves? And a lot of the issues in this episode do seem still very topical today, and particularly in the era of veganism. They also raise some questions about animal welfare in this episode, and around the issues of farmed versus wild animals for food. And of course, the central question they raise in this episode, the central ethical question, is around the ethics of hunting for sport. And this is a question they've raised in numerous other episodes before. For me, this episode had some similarities with the questions and issues raised in Farm Fresh Foods, but here they're also bringing in conservationism and endangered species. All very topical stuff, even today. I thought it was really nice to see Bill's passion for birdwatching and conservation coming through in this episode. This episode is a really well-paced, well-structured, coherent story with a lot of laughs and a lot of fun surprises. Dodonuts is a strong and interesting episode with a kind of different feel to it. So far, season 7 has got off to a pretty interesting start. And next week we move on to one of my all-time favourite episodes, Scoutrageous. I hope I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.